Let's begin by going into our heart phase. Take 3 deep breaths. 3 deep breaths. And with a deep in-breath. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Today we're going to talk about concentration and meditation. It will be in 2 parts. We'll begin with concentration and move into meditation. Good morning. We're doing both an audio and a video this morning. So we begin with concentration, move to meditation, and look at guidance from the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of the Lord. Ready? Let's jump in. Here's the sloka from chapter 6, number 10. A yoga practitioner should continue to concentrate her mind, or his mind. Is this something that we do? Concentrate our minds. We're going to look at what that means. Until he or she masters his mind and body. Concentrate mind until he or she masters his or her mind or body. Does anyone feel that they have taken steps to master the mind or body? Maybe we're not totally mastering, but maybe we've taken some steps. Concentrate his mind until he masters his mind and body and thus experiences a state of solitude. That's something we need to look at. What does that mean? Solitude. Wherever he or she may be, then desire and possessiveness drop away. Desire. The desire to have things, the aversion for things that are already there. Drop away. So through concentration, we more and more master our mind and body and experience a state of solitude. Now we need to look at that carefully. What does that mean? We're not in solitude now, are we? We're here in community. How can we experience a state of solitude and be in community and doing? That's where we're heading. That's where we're heading. Let's look at the commentary of Satchidananda's guidance on it. The sloka suggests that a yogi should always be in solitude for yogis, for aspirants. And it is easily misinterpreted. In the mind is God, in the hand is the job. Heard that before? In the mind is God, in the hand is the job. Can we be doing our job while concentrating in our mind on God? And what does that mean and what does that look like? And how can we do our work if we're not thinking about it? If we're not thinking about it. Let's go on and see what Satchidananda has to say. He says God and job should go together. God and job should go together. So I'm going to talk about concentration. But if you insist, I want to be a yogi, I must always be in solitude, then you won't even come to the kitchen for something to eat. I want to be in solitude. Well, if you're in solitude, you're not eating, you're not coming to the kitchen. You won't leave your solitude. So that doesn't work. And today our sermon was a lot about doing, wasn't it? Reverend Russ talked about doing. So how does doing and solitude go together? How do they link together? If you're interested in coming to the dining room and doing, then you should all be interested in going to the workshop, which is where you experience solitude. The idea here is to perform one's duty with the hand, yet in the midst of performing the duty, keep the mind in solitude. So how can we do our duty and in the midst of it keep the mind in solitude? What does that mean? Seems to me if we're doing something, we ought to focus what we're doing and have the mind stay totally focused on that. Let's go on and see how Satchidananda takes us. Head in solitude, he says, hands in multitude. By getting deep into this and seeing how this works for us, we can start to transform our daily lives so that our daily lives become a meditation through concentration. That's where we're headed. Not only do we want to learn how to meditate purposefully in a particular setting, he will get to that. How can our life be a meditation? What does that mean? Head in solitude, hands in multitude. The Sloka says, always try to concentrate your mind, feeling yourself in solitude. This means you don't associate yourself with everything. See, if your mind is focused on the doing, but not associating yourself with things, not feeling possessed by things, but rather almost being able to step back with your mind engaged in what you're doing and notice that your mind is fully engaged in what you're doing. And you're doing what is yours to do, not because you have an ego drive to do that, and this is about me and mine, what I'm doing, you're doing. Rather, it's allowing yourself to come from your inner Christ consciousness and do what is yours to do. And in some ways, be fully engaged in the doing and observing it at the same time. Now, if you've never done this before or experienced this, the idea that you can do it is something for you to explore. Doing something and at the same time observing yourself doing it and observing your mind fully engaged in the doing. This means you don't associate yourself with everything. It doesn't mean you don't move along with everything. Because the rest of the sloka says you achieve solitude only after subduing the mind and body. So the mind and body is working, it's doing its thing. You're noticing the mind and body in action from your inner capital S self or your Christ consciousness. And you are perfectly content and at peace as the mind works, the body does, and you are perfectly at peace. And in a way, you, by stepping back, have experienced some solitude in the midst of commotion and action and doing, thinking, stepping back. In a way, a part of you is in solitude. You've got in touch with that part of yourself that remains in solitude. Now, you may never have experienced this, so here is something to consider for you as you are doing something. When I go on my morning walks, I find it most useful to get in this state of the mind, because I've been going on the same walk every day, 30 odd years, the same route. I know every crack in the street, and when I come to one crack, I think of one thing, and another place I do another. So since it's such a repetitive thing that I do, I can find myself stepping back from my mind and noticing what I'm doing and noticing what my mind is thinking. Actually, I give my mind permission to think whatever it wants to think for the first 20 minutes of my walk. And I notice all the nutty things it thinks. And then at one point I say, well, thank you very much. You have your freedom now. I want you to follow my direction. Repeat this holy saying after me. Just keep yourself busy with that. I'll watch you doing it. So by having the consciousness that this is possible, I to some extent experience it. That's how I experience it, doing and in solitude.
Just curious, what is the holy saying that you say, that you observe this day?
It's a good question. What is the holy saying that I repeat to myself? I have several, actually, and you've probably heard them at different times during our talks. Satchidananda recommends that if you have something special like that, like a mantra or something special, he recommends that you don't share it with others. That's his recommendation. Why? Because what if some negative energy would come up around it? Not that it would here, of course. But just as a habit to not share it. And you've heard the things I say to myself. I've repeated them here many times, different things. It's a good question. You achieve solitude only after subduing the mind and body. Subduing, that's an interesting word. Perhaps rather than subduing, which is like ego controlling, a better word might be stepping back from and observing the mind and body. You achieve solitude from the place of observation of mind and body. You're not subduing it, because it does its own thing. Doing so, you rise above all desires. How do you do that? Well, you see the mind having desires. There's one point in my walk, for example, when I do a particular little exercise. And a part of my mind says, oh, let's skip it today. It's kind of strenuous. I feel a stretch doing it. Let's skip it. So I notice that desire, step back from it, and do what I always do. Notice it. You rise above all desires. So it's not that you don't have them. And you may agree to follow it, or you may not, from your place of solitude. That's a desire. I want to go with it. I want to have the chocolate cake today. Well, it's my birthday. Okay. But other days, maybe not. So you rise above all desires and the possessions you accumulated fulfilling previous desires. What was in place when we accumulated all of our stuff? Previous desires. You didn't buy that new pair of pants or shirt unless you desired it. That beautiful piece of jewelry unless you desired it. So can we rise above the desires? Doesn't mean we don't go along with them, but we notice them and see if that desire is something coming out of our ego minds, or is it truly something that's ours to do that will be for the benefit of everyone by making us appear attractive and beautiful for the benefit of everyone, doing some service to others. We adorn ourselves so that we appear attractive and pleasant to others, make others happy.
So we're trying to notice the internal desire, the thoughts, the energy.
We observe it.
Yes.
We observe it. So before we go along with it, from our place of solitude, we take a look at it. And we either say, okay, I'm going to go for it. Or we say, well, thank you for sharing that desire, but I think I'm going to take a different path. Or thank you for sharing that aversion. You don't want to do that. Thank you very much for sharing. This is really mine to do. And then you just do it. And when you do it from that vantage point of solitude, the mind gets quiet. It did its best to try and dissuade you from doing it, or try to get you to do it. But when you come from that Christ consciousness, capital S self, as you go there, the mind just shuts out because it did its best. It didn't work. Or it did. You rise above desires and the possessions you've accumulated, fulfilling previous desires. You may still be in the midst of many people and many things, but in fact you are experiencing that part of yourself that's in solitude. So you're not in solitude in the sense of being in a hermit and having gone off in the woods. No, you're experiencing that part of you that's always been there and always be there. That is the solitude aspect of yourself. You're just getting in touch with it. It's there. And I get in touch with it. Let it support me. You are not affected by anything. Well, of course, we are affected by things. We say, we get upset, we get happy, we get peaceful, and so on. So in a sense, we are affected by things, but what is affected by things? This you that is not affected by things is the inner solitude. Your ego mind is affected by all sorts of things. Gets upset, has emotions, tightens you up, loosens you up. But the real you, that place of solitude that's always been there, that is not affected.
Isn't that the witness?
Yes, the witness. The witness, the place of inner solitude is a witness, observer, noticing. In the comic books or the caricatures, they sometimes portray that as conscious. We have a conscience. They have a little angel conscious on one shoulder and a little devil conscious on another shoulder, trying to persuade us one way or the other.
I don't know, but I don't think that's the same thing. Because the angel, she still has a point of view. And the witness is just witnessing.
I think I agree. Both those little guys are up in the mind.
Yeah.
The witness is watching both.
Yeah, the witness is watching.
Yeah. Solitude is watching. Oh, there's my angel talking. Oh, there's my devil talking. All up here. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. But you, your place of witness, or solitude, not affected by anything, like a boat on the water, or a lotus in the mud. The lotus in the mud. It's in the mud, but it's unaffected by the mud. So you yourself, your ego mind, is in the world, getting muddied, but your inner place of solitude is unaffected, like the lotus. When you go to the lake, you see the lotus leaves floating in the water, but the moment you take the leaf out of the water, you won't find even a trace of moisture there. So can we strive and aspire to that potential, so that even though the mind takes us down into the mud, or does what it does, The moment we take that leaf out of the water, in other words, getting in touch with our spiritual center or witness, no moisture there. No moisture. That's all in the mind. Swim like a duck in the water, but the minute you come out, shake everything off. All the water drops away, you come out free. That's true meditation. You see, we've been talking about meditation in our daily life. While we're doing all the things Rev Russ talked about doing, can we do them from this state of witness so that we don't get involved with them, rather we participate with them. And that spiritual center, capital S self, the witness is the boss. And the ego mind is just there, doing its best, helping us. Thank you, God. We come out free. That's true meditation. Now, Sri Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna is the speaker, gives some meditation information. Because some of us have meditation practices. It's general, useful information that will be very helpful. First, what sort of setting should one have? So here we go. We talked about our doing life most of our time. And if we have a meditation practice, the Bhagavad Gita addresses that. And now we're going to look at some specific practical things. There are many ways to meditate, and previous commentary was our life can be a meditation. And yet we can have sort of a programmed meditation, some of us do, and that's what the next sloka is going to address. To practice meditation, not living our life as a meditation, but rather a particular practice of meditation. Practice it. Fix up a clean meditation place. Clean meditation place. The recommendation is that place, if it's possible, only be used for meditation, even if it's just a corner of a room. Only used for meditation, not for other things, if you can arrange that. With the seat neither too high nor too low. Insulate the seat with a grass mat. Now, this was written 3,000 years ago.
I don't have a grass mat. When every house had a grass mat.
Everybody had grass mats 3,000 years ago.
I'll take the cushion, please.
Good job.
Thank you.
Then a deer skin.
Oh my goodness.
I guess there were a lot of deer skins around back then. And over those, a clean cloth. Satchidananda is going to take a metaphysical interpretation now of this sloka, which came from a different era. We know where he's going to go. But don't kill a deer just for the sake of meditation. We don't have deer skins so much anymore. The idea here is simply to have some good insulation between the body and the ground. Some insulation. During meditation, you are trying to develop a new form of energy. That's what you're after, a new form of energy, which shouldn't be drawn down by the pull of the earth. So you want some separation between the body and the ground. We're always subject to gravity, of course. He's suggesting here we need a little bit of perhaps metaphysical separation from the floor or earth. It's like an electrician who stands on a piece of wood before touching the electric line. Because in your meditation, you are going to create vibration. You want to keep that vibration somehow, at least metaphysically separate from the pull of Mother Earth. These recommendations are given to help you insulate yourself when you sit for regular meditation. Some advice, more advice. Bring a clean towel if you like. It's easy to do. If you want, you can even use a small rubber mat. Or you can buy a meditation cushion, as I did, from places that sell things like that. They have a meditation, sort of like a blanket, I guess, goes on the floor, and then a cushion sits on top of that. That's the meditation. Lay it first over the carpet, then put a clean towel on top. So the idea is to have your place of meditation purified so that it's just for meditation, and there's as little as possible associated with your other activities in life. It's just got the energy of meditation associated with it. And these things in your spot of meditation are clean. Why? Because as Satchidananda is going to point out, what is the purpose of meditation? To cleanse yourself, or to purify yourself. What aspect of yourself needs purifying and cleansing? Our ego minds need a bit of regular cleanup because it seems to take on a life of its own. So through meditation, you can clean it up a bit. You make it dirty again during the day, you just take it back to laundry during your next meditation session to purify yourself. The towel should be used only for your meditation. After you finish the meditation, don't even stand on it. Immediately roll it up and keep it in a clean place, honoring your meditation material. Because these meditation materials are going to absorb the energy of your meditation. They will have the vibrations in them, so you want to treat them with respect. The purpose is to let the meditation seed become charged with the meditative vibrations. Have you noticed that the minute you go to bed, this is not from Swami. Have you noticed that the minute you go to bed, you feel sleepy? Maybe some of you experience sleeplessness, I don't know. But for me, I know when I get in bed, there's something about being in that position, with my hands in a particular position, my head like this, and I make all my little adjustments. Once I get totally adjusted, before I know it, I'm not thinking anymore. I'm off in sleepland. So there's something about it. Meditation similar. In the same way, the minute you sit on the meditation seat, you'll feel like meditating. Feel like meditating. Maybe it's some pattern that's within you. Satchidananda says the vibrations are also in your surroundings. Even the way you choose to dress can help your meditation. Have clean, comfortable meditation clothes nearby. Good to have a particular set of clothes. Before you sit to meditate, bathe or take a quick shower, he recommends. I've never done that. This is his recommendation. Bathe or take a quick shower. Put on your meditation clothes and sit at your seat. Always something new to learn and consider. I've never thought of bathing or taking a quick shower. I think that's very much part of the tradition in India where Satchidananda comes from. Bathing, quick showers before beginning the day's activities. Something for us to consider. Sit at your seat. All these things help a lot. As your practice continues, you'll be charging these things with meditative vibration. And that's the idea behind these suggestions. Just practical things. Some might wonder, why all these things? Why not a more comfortable seat with the back? Some of you may meditate in a more comfortable seat with the back. Satchidananda is going to talk to you now. Here's his message. You may not like it, but there we go. Why not a more comfortable seat with the back? Satchidananda says, if you used such a seat, soon after sitting there, you would slowly begin to lean back. Now, maybe you don't. He suggests you might, until very soon you'd fall asleep. So that's the issue with the back. If that's not an issue for you, enjoy your back. But that happens to people. It's easy. You let back, off you go. Something too soft is not good because it won't give you steadiness. It's good to be steady in the meditation. If you're shifting back and forth, that can distract you. And since the point of meditation is to cleanse yourself and purify yourself, the mind is not interested in doing that. It doesn't want to cleanse or purify itself. It's happy being soiled. It's just continuing on the way it always has. So the mind is always looking for a distraction to take you out of your meditation. So if you see the soft and push around, the mind says, oh, starts noticing the seat. A firm seat keeps you steady, so the mind doesn't have occasion to distract you. Don't sit on soft cushions, it says. All right, there's another sloka. I think we have some time for it, so let's go into the last.
Just
sloka.
curious, where
Yes.
would one find a soft but yet firm cushion for meditation?
See me afterwards.
Terra Crista, I think is where both
Terra Crystal?
Terra Crista, I think.
Terra Crystal, yeah.
Church Street near my office
In Vienna?
in Vienna. I mean, they have things. Or you can order them online.
Just say Amazon.
It's closer than Terra Crista's.
Sorry, many
Yeah.
times. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They are available. If you really want one, I could facilitate one for you.
Okay.
All right, so let's look for the day. 6:12. All right, we've got ourselves prepared. Then sit and calm the mind and senses by concentrating on one thing. So what is it that you concentrate on? You want to concentrate on yesterday's activities? Probably not. One thing. Concentrate on what you ate for dinner last night? Probably not. You want to concentrate on what you're going to make for breakfast after you finish your meditation? Probably not. You want to choose the thing you're going to concentrate on carefully. And the meditation masters recommend that you choose a spiritual saying to repeat, to concentrate on. Why? Because it's enriching and it's one of the least distracting things for the mind. The mind, when it has that spiritual saying to repeat, is not going to get distracted with other things by repeating. It will get distracted of its own nature for different places. You're going to have to bring it back. But the spiritual mantra or saying you use isn't going to facilitate that. And eventually, the mind will learn to stay at peace if you repeat your spiritual saying or mantra, which then has the effect of purifying yourself, purifying your mind, keeping you clean. Concentrate on one thing. Thus you practice yoga, which is meditation, this being yoga, for purification. Self-purification. Which part of the self are you purifying? The rest of your body doesn't need purifying. It's full of beautiful things that ought to be there. Beautiful skin, vibrant hair, shining eyes, gut full of great food, all the beautiful excrement you let go of from time to time. These are all part of your beautiful body that don't need purification. Yet your mind needs the purification. And from that point of purification, you can begin to observe how perfect your body is exactly as you've been given it today. Not as it used to be, not as it's going to be, but today. Accepting the beauty of yourself, which then allows you to be open to the beauty of others and all things. Self-purification. The first practice is to purify. That's why we also do pranayama. Does everyone know what pranayama is? No one knows what pranayama is? Breathing. Prana is a Sanskrit word for breath or life energy. So pranayama is a practice of breathing. Have any of you done breathing exercise? Pranayama? Has anyone never done it? Does anyone want to do it? Is everyone willing to do just an example of it right now to have an experience of what pranayama is? There are many different pranayama exercises you can do. One that's very simple involves awareness of the breath, and there's something called alternate nostril breathing, which is a pranayama. But rather than do that, which requires some practice and expertise, there's another pranayama we can do that's very simple. And what it's going to involve is just taking an in-breath, expanding the tummy, holding it, counting the 3 or so, pushing it out. Taking an in-breath, expand the tummy, count to 3, push it out. There you go. Take an in-breath, expand the tummy, push it out. There we go, that's enough. That's pranayama. You might get breathless doing that one. Actually, the recommendation is when you push it out through your nose, sort of like this. And then the practice of it is that you repeat that like this. Did you see my tummy expand? There are different versions. What's the purpose of pranayama? It's to help purify and prepare you to do your seated meditation. Get your body ready for it. The breathing exercises that cleanse your body. We could have a whole session on pranayama there. It's fun. Alert the mind and drive away dullness. Pranayama. Get you all ready, so you just can't wait to start meditating. The main purpose of meditation is
Cleanse the mind.
Quiet the mind.
Cleanse the mind.
Purify.
Purify the mind.
according to Satchidananda, it's this purification. And quieting the mind is looked at as a purification. You're all right. You get rid of all the wild thoughts by filling the mind with one chosen, beautiful thought. You can have one particular thought you use, or you could have more than one thought you use. Over the years, I've developed maybe 3 different thoughts I use in my meditation practice. I use them on my walk, actually. One part of the walk I use one set of thoughts, another part of the walk, across a crack in the street, I'd use another part of thoughts. It's become a habit with me. One beautiful thought. That's why it's called self-purification. Any questions before we close? Yes, Sam.
The beautiful thought that we hold in consciousness, could that be the dwelling in the beauty of the needs?
Excuse me?
In BPs, we learn the practice, the dwelling in the beauty of the need. So in the past, when our needs were met, of that core belief, if we hold that in consciousness, I'm guessing that could be a very similar path to holding the beautiful thought.
If the thought is beautiful for you, then it's the thought for you to think. With regard to feelings and needs, those are all attributes of the mind.
Right.
You have no feelings or need in your true self.
Right.
But your mind needs this and needs that. And when it needs this, it feels upset if it doesn't get it. When it gets it, it feels happy. These are all mental artifacts, feelings and needs. So if any of those thoughts touch you, here, touch you, and they're beautiful, and they're appropriate. Make sense?
Yeah. I think I answered that same question I asked.
Other questions or comments?
What was the place of the
Terra crystal.
Terra Christa.
Crystal on Main Street?
It's close to the library in
Church Street.
Vienna.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Church and Lawyers.
Yes.
No, I was just going to say, when we were speaking of desires, the inflection was they were desires for tangible items or things, but for myself, I identified it as desires for things to be differently.
Perfect.
That's it. But I wanted to hold it till the end this time.
Yes, desires of all flavors, for things, for outcomes. I'm going to do this thing expecting a particular outcome. You're trapped. Your ego mind. I'm going to give this gift. They better say thank you. They rarely say thank you, but this time they ought to say thank you.
Well, for me, it was like disappointment that that I just came back from like a 5-day work trip, right? And I feel disappointed in a way that like things like there was great conflict, and I just like I wish specific events didn't happen or whatever. And to me, that's a desire to have things differently, but they are perfectly unfolding the way they are. And it was fairly easy to get my mind clear and purified again. You know what I mean? Like, while it felt, I'm in mental health, so it felt intense at the time, I was able to step back in a short amount of time and get that.
I got it. So something was going on. Your true self was perfectly okay. It's just watching. But your mind didn't like it. Your mind objected to it. Your mind sent some emotions down into your throat. I wish they hadn't said that. Your mind may have sent some tightness into your neck and back. They shouldn't be saying or doing that. Those are all artifacts of the mind. They're very real. They're very real. That's why in the beginning, Satchidananda talked about concentration and getting in touch with our solitude, so we can step back from those experiences of the senses and somehow find our inner peace, if not in a moment, soon thereafter. So we can just have a gentle smile and say, wow, that was interesting. It must have been mine to experience because I did. Thank you, God. It was a blessing or a lesson. I'm not sure which.
What a wonderful illustration of the observant self. Yeah. That's what I love about this class.
We do need to close. Let's bring ourselves actually to a meditative experience through the sound of Om. Take 3 deep breaths together. Deep in breath. Go in peace, my friends.
Thank you.
With that wonderful meditative vibration floating
Sometimes
you.
it's nicer than others, so it's not.
What was?
Some days it's nicer than others, our sound.
Really?
I think.
It was a nice one.
We're all in tune.
Yeah. I noticed that too.
I noticed it was different from the beginning.
Frequency.
I did too.
Yes, we don't want
I guess we needed some cleansing. We purified our own.